Bro, it's good seeing you.
Absolutely, man. I was surprised when you sent me the message. I was like, bravo, absolutely, I'm going to go.
Dude, I don't even know how long it's been, but I think the last memory that I have actually seeing you, I don't remember what year it was, but I have this memory of up north at my place with Jimmy. I don't remember.
Oh, my God.
That's as far back as...
When we were playing volleyball.
I don't even remember why we were there. I don't know if it was like a bachelor party and we were all at my place. And the only reason I remember it is because we were the last ones to leave. Obviously, I locked up the place and we leave and you guys were in front. I remember, and I was following you and we stopped at Tim Hortons to pick up some drive-thru. And I remember this like it was yesterday. You guys pick up your order, you leave. And then I go to the window, I get my order, and then the girl gives me a Timbit. And I'm like, she goes, yeah, the people in front told me, to give you a Timbit. And I'm like, okay, thanks. Like one Timbit. And I don't know why I remember that. And I think that was the last time that I saw you. And I remember you were active on social media. And even as Jimmy, I kept asking about you. I'm like, dude, how's Kosta doing, man? It's been a long time. And you disappeared even from social media. At least that's how it felt to me. I don't know if you... Yeah. And then he had told me that you were into the restaurant business and everything. And I'm like, okay, cool, you know. And then just suddenly, you know, you start posting stuff again and, you know, the whole shoe business. And I was like, okay, that's fun, man. I didn't even know that this guy could draw. You know?
You want to laugh? I didn't even know I could draw.
It's crazy how these things work, man. Like, honestly, we live in such a world where everything is so controlled and, you know, the social media takes such a big presence. And if it weren't for that, I would have no clue
of what's happening. Going on. Absolutely. And that's what's cool about social media. You can really keep in touch with everybody right now and just be up to date. You don't necessarily have to message a person all the time, but at least when the time comes and you have a need, you can be like, oh, my old friend is doing this. Let me just hit him up.
It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I was happy. I was like, okay, look, he's back. I'm like, where the hell has he been? You know,
life changed when I got the restaurant. My hours changed.
Yeah, for sure.
And I wasn't able to do anything anymore. I was there 24/7 from 8 o'clock in the morning to 1, 2 a.m. almost every day.
Yeah.
You know, depends how it was, but I needed the rest time also. You know, we didn't have necessarily those days off. And sometimes when we would take those days off, it's like you have personal life things to do.
For sure.
So you would wake up early in the morning and let me tap everything out fast so I can have my day off. You end up back home at 4 o'clock, exhausted because you've been running all day. And you would end up sleeping, doing nothing. So yeah, I did. I honestly made it a point to get off social media just so I can focus on what I needed to do, right?
There's many people that I know that have done that. And it's like a cleansing. They've told me, George, it's the best feeling in the world. You disconnect. And you focus on what you have to focus on, and I think it's an experience in and of itself. Personally, I don't see myself ever doing that. I'm so hooked on these things, and because of the job I had no other choice but to be on social media and to monitor everything. But I can't see myself disconnecting.
But it's two different things, right? If you're just doing it personally and you're just chilling on social media, just looking at friends, that you need sometimes cleansing on. But if it's for work, it's part of your business. You have to be on it. And with social media, it makes things instant. Like I can send you a message. It doesn't matter what time it is. You're going to look at your phone and reply. It's like we instantly have communication. No longer, what's his opening hours? What time is he there?
Yeah.
So that's I think that's one of a great opportunity. But for business, you need it and you're on it all the time. It's hard to disconnect.
It's crazy now. I mean, what you're doing now with social media, I mean, is that most of the traction you're getting?
Right now, yes. However, I don't want to depend my whole business on it. Because say tomorrow, Instagram, Facebook, poof, disappears. Yeah. What do? I'm left in the water.
Yeah.
So I still try and keep it old school, where I'm going to events, I'm going to places, and my marketing tool, my branding is me. Yeah. And it's, hi, I'm Kosta. This is what I do. And, you know, sometimes it clicks, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, just like any other transaction that happens.
We're going to talk about what you do and stuff. Well, I don't think social media will ever disappear. I mean, if Instagram leaves, it'll be replaced by something else. And I think that's just the natural evolution of, you know, the world I think that we live in right now with all this social media and all the attention. But I remember you were always this innovative person. You always had these ideas, this outside the box kind of thinker. And I even remember back at a time when social media wasn't even a thing. I think only Facebook existed. You had created the Ultra Ride. And I remember that. And I was thinking, Jesus Christ, man, how do you mobilize so many people for this movement? And and again, social media wasn't there, right? I mean, now someone that manages to attract all this attention, you think, okay, social media, Facebook, Instagram, all these things, okay, it's a trend, and it kind of makes sense today.
Yeah.
But back in the day, when did you start that?
In 2007, but before the social medias, we had the forums.
Okay.
So I was on the forums, and obviously forums were more niche. You would go to the forum that would interest you on your topic specific. So it all started through the forums. But again, it was all the face-to-face communications.
Yeah.
Because in the automotive world, if you want to call it, everybody goes to car meets and stuff like that. So I made sure I went to every single one, and I would introduce myself. And it was more for shits and giggles, right? It was like, you want to call it popularity? Yeah. But everybody knew each other. It became a tight community. And then word of mouth. So then word of mouth, it just came to the forums, which helped it grow. And then in 2007, it's when the pages was introduced on Facebook. And I was like, okay, actually the groups, not the pages, the groups. And I created the group, and that just brought even more people to it. So it was more of a personal way of getting people, then thanks to the forums, and then social media just helped it grow to what it was. Yeah,
like for the people listening that have no idea what the Ultra Ride is, what was it?
It was a moving car show. It was a ride. So we would drive from an area in Laval without taking the highways. We would go up to Tremblant and back down Assomption and head back to Montreal. It was an 8-hour drive taking the scenic route in Quebec.
What was the biggest number of participants that you had?
In 2011, that was the last official one I had done, was 3,000 people. Yeah, it was about 1,500 cars, and from everything, mix of exotics all the way to your little tuner cars. Yeah. We had the Smart Club that came also, like they couldn't keep up, but regardless, it was more for being enthusiasts with enthusiasts.
Just doing participating in the movement,
Yeah, doing what a car's supposed to do. It's not necessarily supposed to just park.
Yeah.
So it was... put the cars to the
Was this a business? Like you made money out of this, or was it just a movement that you're like fun?
It started off for fun, and recently somebody asked me like how it came to be, and someone else used to organize a ride, and he didn't organize it, so I took it upon myself.
Yeah.
And he got upset at me that I'm organizing his event, and he was extremely rude about it. I apologized to him. He continued being rude about it, so I was like, all right, here, instead of your ride, let's just change the name of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I did my own. It was more his rudeness that fueled me, right? I was like, okay, you want to be like that? No problem. But it started off for fun. And I didn't necessarily see a potential at first, but I started getting people contact me asking to sponsor. And then one thing led to another, and it became a business. Mm-hmm. So then I started selling merchandise and getting sponsorships, which helped it out a lot.
It's crazy because at that time I wasn't married, but I was with, she was my girlfriend at the time, and we were driving and we kept seeing stickers on cars, the UR and then the year, UR 09 or 10. And I'm like, oh, look, that's Kosta's thing.
I had made it up. I had turned it into like, if you see a car on the road, first of all, say hi to each other, and then take a picture and send it on Facebook, and I'll repost it. And at a certain point, it got out of hand. Pictures were coming from every direction. I was like, what am I going to post first?
Yeah.
Today, I wish I had that scenario again. It's like, okay, what am I posting next? If people are sending me pictures all the time, it's like, okay, I have material to post.
Any plans to take that over again?
So I started it last year again. Since I had the time, I left the restaurant, and I started it again, and I said, we'll take it one step at a time, And from what I saw last year, it needs to be rebuilt. Mm-hmm. And I expected it to be much, much bigger. I thought, the event was huge. I'm just going to come back. But I clearly saw it needs to be rebuilt because a lot of the people who were back then have now moved on. They're either older, they have families, they have other priorities, they've sold their cars. But
there's always car enthusiasts.
Yes, correct. Yeah. There's always car enthusiasts. And it just needs to be rebuilt, but I think it's going to be more for fun and pleasure. Just to keep that passion alive.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously it brings people together, right? And builds new connections and new relationships. So you never know where those lead you after.
Exactly. So how did you go from that into the restaurant thing? How did that come about?
So at the time I was working for a marketing firm. We were a distributor of promotional products. Mm-hmm. And in 2009, when the economy crashed in the US, Canada right away took a hit where I suddenly had almost no more clients. Like all clients had cut their budgets, their marketing budgets.
Yeah.
And I found myself as if it was like day one when I first started working for the company where I had 0 clients. I found myself cold calling clients again, trying to get new customers. And I'm calling companies and they're telling me, oh, this position is abolished. And I was like, what do I do now? And that's when the ultra ride took a whole different turn. Whereas like I need to start generating money from somewhere else. Like the marketing firm was great when the commission was coming in, but salary wasn't the greatest.
For sure.
I depended on that commission. So that's when I started thinking, taking the ultra ride a little more seriously. So while I was working at the marketing firm, I was working at the ultra ride, and I found myself working nonstop. Mm-hmm. And my cousin had a restaurant, and he told me, Kosta, I see your work ethic, I see how you are. Do you want to come join me? And I was like, what the fuck do I know about restaurants? Yeah. So I refused the offer. And a year later, he came back. Exactly a year later, he came back to me with the same offer. And I was like, you know what? After I said, well, the first time I was like, I have so many things on my plate. I'm grinding. I'm trying to get things going. And a year later, I scaled where I was at and what the potential is if I just stop doing those two things and I go in a restaurant. So that's when I told my cousin, you know what? Let's go. I'll jump on board with you. And that was a whole new learning experience. And that's when I disconnected because I've never worked in a kitchen before. Yeah. And first thing I did was go into kitchens and had to learn how to use a knife. Yeah. So that was working morning till night to make sure I learned the kitchen and then slowly learned the front of the store. Now, the front of the store was more learning how a restaurant operates. Mm-hmm. Now, working with staff and being in retail for years, I had that experience. I just had to understand more how the service comes to when it's a restaurant business. Other people have been doing it for years, and to me, it was brand new. Other than being served, I had zero experience for waitering or catering or anything like that. So that's how I stepped away from one thing, went into the restaurant, and one thing led to another, and found myself 7 years later still being in there.
It's crazy because I think, look, I've worked obviously in restaurants, and I know exactly what it takes and how tiring it is. But I also know a lot of entrepreneurs that have gotten into the restaurant business, and it's the most hectic thing because, and especially here in Quebec, I don't know anywhere else, but the restaurant business took a huge hit, especially when the government imposed that machine where you're obliged to punch everything in and everything is monitored and everything is just there's someone constantly overlooking at your numbers. The prices went up, and a lot of these friends that I have just realized that you're throwing in so much money to a restaurant business. At the end of the day, you're just buying yourself a salary and you're working like an animal. An animal. Is that how you felt? Is that what you were you at all in that kind of atmosphere?
I always accepted new challenge. Yeah. So I saw it as a challenge. I was motivated, and because it was new, I didn't see it like that until it became stagnant and routine. Yeah. And then I saw exactly that. The hours I'm working, it's like I'm getting paid less than minimum wage, for the salary, compared to the hours I'm working. But it was still an experience that I would never trade off. It was huge. Whether it was working from having one restaurant with my cousin and then having another one next to the Olympic Stadium, two different scales of two sizes of restaurants, gaining the experience, having the opportunity to work with 60 staff and the opportunity of working with different partners. It was a huge lesson. So I would never take anything away from it. Would I have left earlier? Maybe. Sorry, man.
It's okay.
I would have left earlier, but it was fine the way it went. Everything happens for a reason,
and you stepped aside for what?
So it was time to change. Yeah. There's more to the stories, but it was time to change. So
it's crazy how you reach at that point where you're like, look, I'm done. And we're talking about before going live about my experience in politics too, and I understand you completely. Like, you reach a point where you're like, regardless of what I have, regardless of what I need financially or other, we're turning the page here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you went straight from that to
no, to what I'm doing now. Yeah. No, I first thing I did, I got on a plane, went to Tokyo. Mm-hmm. So I went traveling around a little bit. I needed a break. Yeah. I just needed a really good break and time to refocus. Just acknowledge, settle. I don't know how to say it. Just go through all my thoughts of everything that happened in the last 7 years. Yeah. It was nothing tough. I just had to close that book. Yeah.
Clear your mind and just focus on what's next. Yeah.
So I took a year off, but that year off was was something completely different. I really exposed myself to a lot of different things. I went meeting new people. I went traveling to new places, seeing different cultures. And that really got things turning, right, in my head. And being in these different places is always a comfort zone that you have. Now, one job I used to have that I loved was working in retail. Back when I used to work at Athletes World, when I was managing a few stores. So even though I would travel and go see archaeological stuff, historical stuff, where the beaches or blah, 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 I would always have that thing in me where I wanted to go to a mall or go to the stores. Yeah. I wanted to go shop. I enjoy shopping.
Check things out, yeah.
But you also feel the local vibe. And going there, it's like I started seeing things that maybe I wasn't as familiar with. Like, yes, I had seen it en passant. But I'm seeing in Tokyo guys customizing sneakers and, they're drawing on these sneakers. And it's like, but of course, it's Japan, Of course, they're going to do that here.
You would expect that.
Yeah, correct. So then, and I'm thinking back in my days when I had when I was working for the shoe store, it's like I did little customization, started off first, I didn't like this orange stripe, let me take a Sharpie, hide it, or let me change the laces, put colorful laces, or etc. So then I end up in France and I'm seeing guys doing the work there too, and it's like, wow, cool. Then I meet another who became a buddy of mine now. He moved from France to Canada, and that's what he does. He's doing tattoos and customizing sneakers. And looking at him, I'm like, it's very cool. I was intrigued. I was curious. And then I went to New York, and that was the pivoting point. I'm like, okay, I'm going into this.
Really?
In New York, that was like something else. And you know how it has all these songs about New York. I believe it. I saw it. It really changed my mind setting. So, and when I saw people using airbrushes and stuff like that, I was like, fuck, I've been with the cars for so long. I've painted so many car parts. I failed. I've tried doing it better, and I've learned to use a steady hand. So that's when I was like, I can do this. Now, 2018, January, I was like, time to start moving forward. Started writing my business plan and started doing research on how to do this.
Yeah.
And practicing, trial and errors, see what holds up, what doesn't. And then one thing led to another. And I started.
That's just incredible, man. It's like it has nothing to do with your background, quote unquote.
It does in a way, though.
Well, yeah, because you were in the retail. I mean, you knew the shoes and stuff, but it's like you're starting something from scratch, right? You're like, okay, I've never really dove into something like this. You know what I mean? It's just something that you obviously you saw, you were impressed with, you saw the trends happening worldwide, and you're like, we need this in Montreal. And I think we do. We have, Montreal is that kind of city, I think.
It's culture. You can go anywhere in Canada, but yet when you come to Montreal, it's so diversified, and you have all the different cliques, all the different groups of people, all the different, the generations, the immigrants, you have so many different lifestyles, and people enjoy their lifestyle. They expose it. They go out. Like, you can always find something to do in Montreal.
Has you getting into this, has that exposed you to a reality in Montreal that you didn't know existed? Like, is it present here? That kind of lifestyle, like the customized shoes, that style.
I wasn't sure. I think when I was writing my business plan, that's where
that was the question
I made
mark.
Sure. So that's where I made sure, and I made sure I went to events, and I stood in a corner. I was there for like 3 hours just watching people go by. Let me see what they're interested in. What questions are they asking? I needed to get information, ask questions. Like, I would go to sneaker events where there's resellers, speak to them, find out what their thoughts are. What are they doing? Then when you start asking the right questions and you start getting the right answers, you also know what to research when you're doing your business plan. And as you're doing your research, you're seeing where it's heading, what's the tendencies, what are they forecasting. And it's like, okay, there's an opportunity. It's missing in Montreal. By no means am I the only customizer. There's other people also doing it. But I said,
but there's definitely a market, you're saying.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's crazy because we're gonna go back to the social media thing that we're talking about, and now with everything, all the platforms that exist, you don't only think Montreal. I mean, something like this, you can scale it like anywhere.
So far, I've gotten Toronto, but yes,
but still,
you're 100%
there
right.
You go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not like something that requires you to be at all these locations, right?
No, correct.
Some guy can call you from anywhere. Hey, I saw what you're doing. Can you
shipping
exactly
and shipping back? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's really cool, and it opens a whole new avenue of things. And at the end of the day, it's a luxury item.
Yeah.
So a luxury item is not necessarily a need. However, it's something that somebody will go out of his way for, just to be different and unique. And it's all about self-expression, right? You want to be different. You don't want to necessarily, you're different, I'm different, and you dress accordingly to represent your character and style. So the customization gives it an extra avenue in order to be unique.
There was this kid, man. I can't remember where I saw it. I think it was on Snapchat. That young kid that he became famous with DJ Khaled. He became like that shoe expert where he would
Money Kicks or Benjamin Kicks. There's two of them. One's in Miami, the other one's in Dubai.
I have no idea. It's in the U.S.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know who that is there, but that kid, like I don't even know how old he was, becoming a millionaire, just getting like rare shoes.
Yeah. After doing my research, imagine this: because of supply and demand, of how the companies are collaborating with different artists and having a low supply on a high demand, these shoes can, the way you'll do an investment, you'll purchase a shoe at $150, $160, and within the hour you can resell it at $2,000.
No way.
You tell me now if that's an investment worth making.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you can get your hands on a few pairs, and companies are trying to control that for not one person to be getting all the pairs.
Yeah.
And the resale market right now is estimated at $2 billion. There's even a stock market only for sneakers. You could go on and search one sneaker and see what its tendency is, if the price is going up or going down right now.
Wow.
So it's really impressive to see, really cool to see, and a lot of young kids are jumping on board. And what's cool about this is you have these young guys exposing themselves to sales, purchasing, negotiating, and when back then we were looking for anything to do, now they have something like it's a hot commodity that they can practice on. And some might make it, some might not, but it's an experience that they'll get from
There's even a reality show I saw. I can't remember what it's called. Is it in California? I can't remember. It's a family. I think they're like two brothers and a sister, and that's what they do. They have a little shop, and they do all these celebrities, and they look for deals, and there's all these things, like they expose like kind of like the backstage of how that industry works,
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but
I'll find it. I'll say I can't remember what it was. I think I ran into it like by luck on Facebook. I was going through the feed there, and it came up. See, for me, I just walk in, grab a shoe that I like, leave. A year later or a year and a half later, I know I'll need new shoes, kind of thing. I really don't care.
And I like you say a year and a half later, right?
Yeah.
When normally a life expectancy of a sneaker that's worn is 3 months.
No way.
Yeah.
See? Yeah. But then again, I don't, at least in my previous life, I never really wore running shoes every single day either, right? Yeah. So for me, you get a shoe and it lasts normally around a year and a half.
We've also been conditioned and trained to be like that, right? Yeah. Coming from immigrant families where it's like, this is a shoe you're getting, and
until your toenail kind of rips through, we're not getting your shoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you grew up in an entrepreneurial setting too, though.
My father, he had his own printing shop, and he really pushed for it. I remember him working like very small scale and turning it into something very big.
Yeah.
And now, veux pas, I had to go work with him, right? No choice. So I got exposed to it. I got exposed to the grind, and I got exposed to the sales. And say that I appreciated it, not at a young age. I didn't.
Because it becomes an exhaustion. It becomes just something that you're forced into doing. You don't really understand, right? What's going on.
Correct. That you don't know the reason why, or etc. He's telling you, okay, we have to pay bills, so that's why we're doing it. But later on, as you get older and you start maturing and you start doing things for yourself, you start seeing it's fun. It's not for everyone, but it's fun. Being in sales is literally how you're gonna present yourself, because it's not only the product you're selling. Like if you're not good, if you're some malaka trying to sell the best product, it won't be sold. Yeah. Right. So that's when you start seeing how you can better yourself.
Yeah.
But that obviously had an impact in you doing all these other things, like just thinking outside the box and just taking advantage of any opportunity that you thought, interesting, let me look into that kind of thing. Whereas me, for example, where I didn't come from that kind of setting, for us, it's get a job because you have your expenses, you have school to pay, you have all these things. And we were kind of conditioned that, look, there's no time to think about a business. Forget about that. Go to work. You know what I mean? You didn't live that. Or maybe you did, but the work that you did was always associated to like an idea or like some entrepreneurial venture,
True, very true. I was just very lucky at a young age to have my father. Then when I went to work at Athletes World, the guys that first hired me, they were hungry guys. And I didn't have that hunger until I saw them. And I got hungry for no reason.
Yeah.
Everybody has their reasons for doing things. And them, maybe the same scenario as you. It's like, no, we got to do this or we got to figure out a way to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I just saw hunger and I was like, okay, let me get hungry too.
Yeah.
Right? So it was just different scenarios, exposure to different things. But later on, it starts becoming a game. And it's like you want to try things and do different things.
Yeah.
So maybe I was in a different opportunity. I was lucky in my upbringing that gave me a chance.
Not saying that it's easy though.
No, by no means.
Yeah.
By no means. And even now, I keep saying it. I might fail.
Yeah.
And I'll never say more because my goal is to succeed.
Obviously.
Right?
But succeeding at anything, it's a combination of different failures as well, right?
Yes.
I don't think I know anyone that has succeeded in anything without actually failing. It's a learning process, right?
Yeah.
And it's a curve that you gotta go through it. The difference between people making it or not is how much can you accept failing? Like where do you give up, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Right now, you have your own studio. Like, are you alone? How does it work?
So I'm alone right now. My girl helps me out when required. And that all happened by accident, right? Because I was doing a lot of R&D back then, trying, staying up late, full work days, trying to figure out how I can give the best quality and making sure that my work looks like it was factory made. It doesn't look like, someone drew on it. And wanted to look like that's how they purchased it. And that it's durable. So during this time, she would wait up. So she started doodling, and she doodles. So one thing led to another. I saw her doodles being like super cool, and I was like, yo, make something for the studio so it can look nice in here. So she made one thing, and then one customer came and he's like, oh, that's a cool art. And I go to him, yeah, my girl made it. And he goes, I'm going to bring you a pair of sneakers. I want her to do it. And then I told her, do you want to try it? She was like, no. I'm like, you will do it. So eventually she started also. So she helps out only when it comes to when I need the help or if someone requests her style. And her style has gained a lot of popularity with the people who have been seeing me, who come into the studio. As soon as they see her stuff, they're like, wow, I want that also. So now it gives me another avenue for having two different
styles.
Yeah, two different styles. My style is, I'll do whatever I have to in order to make sure I do what you want. And her style, that's what she does. If you're interested in that, she'll do it for you. She has her own job. She's just doing it more to help out. And she thinks it's cool. She never thought her work would. And even now, if you ask her, she's going to say, oh, no, I don't think my work is nice. But, she's...
But she's getting quite the exposure from it.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
So you're like an entrepreneur now. You're called, the trend now. You're a creative. Which is cool because it's. I don't know if it's a new thing, but I mean, you're hearing all these things online. Become a creative. Find the creative in you, and this is the kind of entrepreneurship that you're in. What's hard about this? Well, obviously, you having to do all that research, like there's that kind of challenge. But now that you have established your business, what's the grind about? Like, what are the challenges? Like your day-to-day kind of mental question marks.
The day-to-day is to find a balance. Because sure, I can sit in a studio for 10 years working on my craft to make sure I become a better artist. But at the end of the day, do I want to just become an artist? Or do I want to continue in being an entrepreneur? Do I want to continue in the sales and organizing and et cetera, et cetera? So it's finding the balance. I think that's the biggest challenge, especially now on social media. Someone sends me a message. It's like, boom, I got to reply right away. But if I'm working on something, I can't necessarily reply right away. But then the phone rings. Then somebody walks in. The paint is drying. I got to keep.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest challenge. Or the second biggest challenge is I constantly try one-upping myself. From one art to the next. I think every last custom I do is my best one. Because I always try getting better and better. And before I do something, I'll practice it until I make sure it leaves here looking great and being good quality.
Yeah.
So I think one side is balancing everything, and second is personally upping my skills.
Yeah.
Upping my skills in order to have a specific style to myself, but be able to do whatever a customer wants. But in order to differentiate myself, to try and take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Now, next level, when I'm saying that, I mean long-term goal I have, and then I have my short-term goals also. Where.
So, what are the highlights now of being this kind of creative? This is something new for you as well. I mean, you've never done anything before associated to that, or at this level. What are the highlights? Like, what do you enjoy most about this?
Meeting people.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal, the people I meet. It's like I don't need to be fake anymore.
Yeah.
I can be myself. I can speak however I want. And everybody who comes is in a good mood. Mm-hmm. And when they leave, I make sure they're happy. Like, I make sure my work is good so they can be happy. But seeing everybody happy,
enthusiastic about it.
Yeah. Doing something different and hearing their ideas. Every customer I've done has a story. Hearing someone's story, it's like suddenly it's no longer a customer. It's a person who has a story, and it's almost like getting a tattoo.
Yeah.
So I think that's super interesting in the industry of this.
Was there any pressure? Like, was it at all difficult for you transitioning from what you did or the person that you were before into doing what you're doing now or becoming what you are now? Like, you were the restaurateur or you were the car enthusiast, and now you're the shoe designer or the custom shoemaker. Going from one to the other, does that affect you mentally? Like, how do you process, how do you accept the fact that this is who I am now?
I think it happened naturally. It happened very naturally, because if I'm going to apply myself, it means I already believe it.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is what I want to do. I'll fight for it. And everything happened very smooth, right? I can't really say that it was hard or that it was...
Have you been exposed to anyone telling you, bro, that's what you do now? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Like, oh, you customize shoes? I've heard that. And it's like, yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people don't understand. Some people are like, you draw on shoes? So it's fun to educate these people on it, right? Some people will still have no interest, but
But for you, it was a natural progression. Like, you saw these things happening, and you picked up interest, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm going to be doing. Like, there wasn't any like mental blockage where you're gonna be like, is this really what I have to do now?
Is not like that. Mm-hmm. In my head, I was like, I don't want to be a shoemaker, and by no means am I saying it in a bad way.
Yeah.
But it's not what direction I'm heading in. I don't want to be a shoemaker. I want to be someone who takes a product, modifies it, and turns it into something new that did not exist.
Yeah.
Not necessarily repairing. Even though I do repairs because of how the market is right now. One pair of shoes, 2 years later, people are noticing their shoes cost $900. They're like, shit, I need to repair this shoe and never wear it again. So I will do that. However, it's modifying the product. And this is what I used to do for a very long time, whether it was modifying cars or working for the marketing firm, promotional products. I had all sorts of projects. Customers would want simple stuff like a cap with a logo on it, pens with a logo on it, golf balls. But then certain projects started getting more interesting where they had a themed event and they needed to come up with different ideas.
Yeah.
So customizing was almost in me, or not in me, but everything I did was all about customization and personalizing and being unique, to now coming to, I learned the sneakers back then. It's like as if I blended everything together now.
Let's talk about the growth, because you're obviously getting a lot of exposure. There's you're trending in a lot of the things, and you're gaining a lot of growth, and you're appearing at all these different events, and that you're participating, like you said. What is the difference between what you're doing now and the exposure you're getting versus what you did with the Ultra Right, for example, where a lot of these platforms didn't even exist? How do you react to this new reality in your business, kind of thing?
The social media is help. So I'm doing exactly what I did before with the addition of the tools that exist. Yeah. If there's other tools tomorrow, I'll try and jump on board on them. If something gets removed, let's see what other avenues we have, or we stick to what works. But social media has been great. And to the point where I got to meet all sorts of new people, create new relationships. And it's not all about business. So a lot of my time is, let me help people. Or somebody needs advice. They're in a sneaker. I'm like, dude, just pass by the studio. I'm here 24/7. I'm working. I can chat at the same time. And helping other people has opened new doors to me. And my work ethic has helped a lot, where I even got sponsored by a soap company who they make soap for sneakers.
What's it called?
Crep Protect. So I got sponsored by them, but all that was a domino effect of actions I took and work ethic, and to the point where they heard my name, they saw what I do, we met. I was happy with them, they were happy with me, and now we're scratching each other's backs. And I'm helping them, and when I need the help, they don't hesitate. They help me back right away also.
But there's many doors that have opened, man. I look at your social media stuff, and there was a street festival a couple of weeks ago on St. Catherine.
With
you
Reebok,
were there.
La Section Barbershop.
They called you up, or you went up to them and like, hey, by the way, this is what I do. Would you guys be interested, or how does that work?
So everything was literally step by step, and domino effect. I got the sponsorship. Because of them, I happen to be in a Foot Locker. Being in a Foot Locker, I meet other people. They see that I'm in a Foot Locker, so people start gaining trust in my work.
The credibility.
Yeah. So then they see me at sneaker events. Then I meet other guys, a barbershop. They were doing a collaboration with Reebok. They're like, yo, we see how you're working. We see what you do. It would be so cool for all of us to work together. So meet with both parties and come to an arrangement, and all three of us working together, and just one person meeting another. Next thing you know, because of social media too, I'm getting DMs like, "Hey, we're doing this event. Are you interested in working together?" So it's a domino effect, but you have to put yourself out there too.
For sure,
you can't just stay home and let me work, or let me be in the office and let me work and try and get a customer. No, it's literally meeting.
There was
people.
this other event at the Rialto, but it wasn't related just to sneakers. It was just a huge art exhibition.
We got scouted out on that one.
Oh,
In my head, being an artist was almost negative.
Yeah.
I used to see it as, let me go live in a plateau with a whole bunch of other artists in one.
I was in politics, man. So for me, the artist, it was like the biggest X. Like, look, this is not our demographic here. You know what I mean?
So I had a complete different image.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that trip to New York was really seeing all the urban art. I was like, this is cool. It's not the image I had. And it was my perception, the lack of knowledge on it. So that's when I started learning things. And through social media, that's where I got scattered out by Raw. It's a company from Los Angeles where they scout out different artists, and I had no idea about it.
That's amazing, man.
I ended up going to the artist meeting, and I'm hearing they're like, who got scattered out by us? Oh, I put my hand up, and the room is full of people, right? I put my hand up, then I just look around, and there's only like another 5 people that got scouted out, and I was like, okay, hold on, this is serious. So I worked all night to get that ready.
So what was that convention about? It was just exposing different art?
Yeah.
And there's people that came from all over, or specifically Montreal?
There were people from all over. However, it was more specific Montreal. They try and stay local. So they go from one city to another city, from one city to the other around the world.
So they promote like the local artists,
And through that, you get opportunities to maybe get found by somebody or etc. So it was exactly that. The other artists that were there, it was from singers to DJs to musicians to threading to people painting, photographers. So it was a mix of different artists. And what was cool being there, I got to meet a whole bunch of people, create again new contacts, get new people to help me on different things. People ask me for help on different things. And again, I think collaborations and partnerships is something where it just gets the ball rolling.
Well, look, in that type of industry, and I guess in every kind of industry, the more that you can expose your name and what you do, and the networking capabilities that you can have through those contacts, there's only positive that can come out of that.
I remember working for the marketing firm, the first networking 5 à 7 I ever went to. Yeah. First one I went to, my boss said, hey, it might be a good opportunity for you to go there. I went there not knowing what to expect. It's like, oh, you can have drinks and whatever. So it's like, okay, let me have a drink. And I'm going up to people and it's like, oh, hi, I'm a distributor of promotional products. And I was like, oh, cool story, bro, And over time you start realizing it's like, you just need to be human.
Yeah.
And networking is just be you and just like shoot the shit. And next thing you know, it's like, hey, I like you, George. Like,
but it's also the industry that you're in, right? This art industry is much more relaxed and it's much more. I don't
agree with that.
You don't think so?
No, because
if you go to a corporate like a Senka said, like it's so like official, the suit and the tie and everybody's like, I'm not convinced that stuff really happens through those networking events. Whereas in yours, everyone's just a creative. They're like, cool, bro, what are you doing? This and that. Let's take a selfie. Like, it's so much more fun. At least that's how it feels like for me from the outside.
So I had to learn, working for that marketing firm for quite a few years, I had to learn I can't be a sales pitch at a 5 à 7.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I started relearning myself and how I should do things. Like every day I'm trying to become better. And back then it was still very early stages, right? And next thing you know, you're going to a 5 à 7 and you're talking to someone you don't even know his name and you're talking about fishing.
Yeah.
And ha 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 ha. And it's like, hey, by the way, I'm George. Oh, I'm Kosta. What do you do? I do promotional products. Oh, no way. Let me introduce you to this person.
Yeah.
And it's that. And I really believe in that. And it took me a little bit of time. But as soon as I figured that out, it's like, just be you.
Just be you.
Just be you at the end of the day. Everybody talks about being authentic, but the way you and I spoke when we first saw each other after all these years, that's being authentic.
Yeah.
It's like that hug we first gave each other. It's but you get what I mean, though, right? You get what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think realism is what really moves things forward. Like, I'm not saying be real on Instagram, how people are faking it and acting, and for them maybe it works, right? Mm-hmm. But these connections is what makes things.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because that's how I felt in politics for all these years. Because, I mean, obviously politics it's an environment where there's a lot of plastic people, man. It's just, there's a lot of fakeness. There's a facade. And I realized, and the way we worked was just being just down to earth, and we had no other choice. First of all, that's how we were. That's how I was. I can't change myself.
Yeah.
And I realized how much more support on the ground we would have compared to other ridings. And people would often come to us and say, how do you guys get all these volunteers to come out? And I think that's what played a huge role. Where, I mean, we do take the job seriously, but in our mind it was like, look, man, let's not just take it that seriously. Let's have a laugh a little bit. Let's joke around.
Yeah.
And that was tough, because you have to, in the back of your mind, maintain that image. We're a public person now. We got to look serious. We got to look a certain way. We got to talk a certain way. And in my mind, it was just all bullshit, man. It was just, look, man, just go to the people, talk to them. But I do. I do feel like all those networking cocktails that I went to, maybe because I didn't want to be there. I don't know. It's very possible. I don't know. But I just felt like, dude, nothing is getting done here. Like, what am I doing?
I can completely understand. And going back to your point, I can understand, and you might be right. And the industry I'm in now, yes, it is much cooler.
It's fun, man. Come on.
Because I had to go talk about fishing. Right, I had to go talk about golf, but I've never played golf. Right, I wasn't faking it, but I would say, I play soccer, I play basketball. But I completely understand. I think it's the people you're exposing yourself to. If it's not the right environment, like some of these people, some of these 5 à 7, they're wearing beige pants and burgundy polos tucked in. Like, that wasn't me. So you're right. Yeah, you're right. But at the end of the day, you still be you, and but.
It's impressive. First of all, the growth that you've had in not even a year.
A year and a half, actually. A year and a half.
Oh, 2018. You said.
I started officially 2018.
Yeah.
Just the exposure. It took time to grow, and my R&D and my development and etc. But yeah, 2018. So it started low key. What's
the goal going forward? Obviously, you want to grow. Like, do you want to become that person where when people think of sneakers or customized sneakers or anything related to sneakers, like your name pops up? Is that what the goal is?
Yes.
Like, I'm thinking of that kid that we talk about there in the US, where he became a millionaire just by selling shoes to DJ Khaled, and from there to all these other, and like when you think when these people think, I need sneakers, call up that kid kind of thing, Is that what you want to do? I
didn't see it
like you want to become that staple.
Like that staple, yes. And since you're saying it, I will answer you yes. However, that's not how I saw it. I didn't look at, let me go make millions. By no means. However, I want to have a little workshop. And I mean leave the studio and have a store, which I'm in the process of doing it right now. And have regular store hours where people could come in and drop off their stuff, because I don't only customize and brand sneakers. I'm cleaning sneakers and restoring sneakers. And the way things are going right now, how it's popular, like even business professionals now, it's throw a blazer on and a pair of clean sneakers.
Yeah.
So I want to just make sure I can do something that's fun, that I enjoy, but keep challenging myself to long-term goal, be able to work with corporate companies, like different sneaker companies. Yeah.
Like they come to you basically for their customized stuff.
Hey, we've seen your customs. We like your style. I think it would be an interesting opportunity for us to work together and take it from there, but at a much higher level, right? With big corporate companies, and not just. And when I say corporate companies, I'm talking about like Nike's, Reebok, etc. But now that I said corporate, it's what's cool is, yes, you can make one unique product for an individual, but I've started knocking on doors. Well, first it approached me, and a company wanted to do sneakers for staff, and it's like they got their branding on point.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So after that, I started branching out to a few companies here and there, and it's like, okay, it's not only just about the uniqueness of that sneaker; it's also about branding.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. I found new avenues that I can also go explore for myself.
Is there any plan? And I'm thinking because I put a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I've been following a lot of creatives on YouTube, and there's a lot of stuff on that platform. Just people in their craft, and these channels are just exploding.
Mm-hmm.
Any chance we're going to see that happening? Like you actually creating a channel and showing how you do it?
I actually have a game plan for that, and not necessarily showing what I'm doing, because you can find everything on the internet now. And I thought of it. I'm not sure. Maybe I will have something where I'm showing, but I think what I want to do is similar to what we're doing today.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody who has a story with a custom, I would love to expose that on a video.
Yeah.
So yes, it will show me doing the work. I might not go into details explaining what I'm doing. However, I would love for that person to share his story on what it means for him to have a pair of custom sneakers and why he wants it that way.
Yeah.
And everybody's super interesting, like I said, like you'll have your business tomorrow. It's like George does this, it's extra exposure. So right now I'm at I have to write my storyboards on that. So I have a big whiteboard and little post-its here and there.
Just do it, man.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing when I started this, and it's not like it's big or anything like that. It's for me, it's more fun than anything. But as soon as politics was out of the way, for me it was like, okay, that's it. Get the equipment. I built the panels. My wife was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure yet. I just feel like I need to do something." You know what I mean?
Tell you the truth, you're one of the people who, when I first saw your podcast, and I came late, right? You already had a few episodes,
okay.
And then I was like, okay, I gotta play catch up, right? I'm like, okay, who's this person? I have no idea. Oh, I know that person. Then I saw next. I was like, I'm putting this like while I was working. It was a long episode, and I was just laughing, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, look what he's doing. I could do exactly that with the people that, and you inspired me when it comes to this, as opposed to showing the craftsmanship. I think it's cooler to expose the people that I meet with.
But there's a lot of, like, I'm going to show you some stuff that I follow on YouTube, and it's something that I think that you can definitely do, as long as it's quality. I mean, I don't know if the quality really matters of the production, as long as, for me in my head, it's just put it up. You know what I mean? Do it. And then the quality will follow later, as long as you're actually putting out the content. At least that's how I see it, right? And with everything available now on social media, man, it's there's just a lot of fun things that you can do. And the way that I started, because at some point I was really into photography, and I started following all these guys online.
It's true. I remember you walking around with a camera.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And but even that, I had to put it aside. There was so many obstacles to anything that I wanted to do because of politics. And I'm not judging. I mean, I loved what I did. It's just that there was so many restraints, man. There was so much scrutiny and so much judgment on what you do, who you talk to, what you say, what do you do. You know what I mean? And it's like you have to live in this persona kind of thing. And I had to put aside all those things that I enjoyed.
The hobbies.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was like really into photography, and I started following these people online, like this guy Peter McKinnon, and then obviously Casey Neistat.
I'm following him too.
Amazing stuff. And he recently had an episode with this guy, and that's where I thought about you. I forgot what it's called, but he's a leather maker. He makes like these leather things, and he's based, I guess, in Ontario somewhere. And Peter McKinnon had an episode with him. And the guy has a YouTube channel. He doesn't talk at all. He just little music, like he does his little edit, and it's just really good quality. Like
the work, or the video itself, good quality, or both.
The video, and obviously the work as well. But it's just so intricate about the machinery and everything that he does, and him cutting it, and like it's so well done. You just I was just wasting hours and hours on YouTube just watching him make like a little wallet. You know what I mean? But this is something that, and I'm like, this is definitely something that Kosta could be doing with shoes. You know what I mean? It's a whole other aspect and a whole other responsibility to think like, oh, okay, now I got to film this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes away from the workload that you have. But I just thought that would be so interesting to just see the process of a shoe, and then
starting from scratch,
and then drawing and everything, and the different camera angles, and it would be very interesting. And that's why I'm like, this guy should definitely have a fucking YouTube channel, man. I would be hooked on it. You know what I mean? And it's something that you can look into.
So
I mean, I don't know.
It's interesting you say it, because I'm heading in that direction. However, maybe I should incorporate what you're saying also.
Look into it. Both. I mean, look, there's so many things, and it's funny because I find myself telling people what to do, and it's like I don't do it myself, which I feel bad about. But
aren't we all kings at that, though?
And for me, look, this is something definitely new, and for me, the podcasting was something that started very, very early on. Like I don't know if the first episode on this podcast, we had Pantelis, who's a very good friend of mine. He's a comic in Montreal, and I had met up with him like in early 2000, like 2008, I think, something like that. 2009. He was telling me he was already podcasting when people didn't even know what podcasting was.
Yeah.
And today, like after 10 or 11 years that he's been doing it, he has this huge podcast on his own, and then he has another podcast with Mike Ward, who's like famous Quebec comedian, and they're just having a blast, these guys. You know what I mean? And now it's getting to a point where they're actually scaling, and they're on YouTube, and they're making videos, and it's really going well for him. And this guy, the doors open up. He was on Just for Laughs this year. He was also on it last year. So his career is really taking off, and I'm very proud of the guy. And that's where it had clicked. I'm like, this podcasting thing, man, I don't know. And I started looking into it, and that's where all these interests started happening for me, and to some extent, I'm glad that whole political thing is over, because I can just be like, okay, what are we doing now? Let's sit down. Like, I can just talk to anyone.
Can think clearly.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But just to go back to that YouTube thing, I was like, I got to show it to Kosta. This is gonna be it's gonna be great, and it's obviously it's additional.
Work, yeah, absolutely. An additional learning process, because I can't edit a video, right? I tried it once a long time ago.
I didn't, but I'm doing it now.
I remember doing a video for the Ultra Ride. Man, I spent the whole day to do like a 1-minute video. And I was
but you know what the thing is now, man? There are so many tutorials online. Like even me now, I don't know half of what I'm doing, man. Like it's like as we go kind of basis, Like I mean, now I've gotten in like. I've got it set, like the audio and the video and all that stuff. And again, like it's not really complicated, it's one camera and it's just filming. But there's so many tools.
Right now, all the videographers out there, they're like, oh, look at this guy. He thinks it's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, guys. No, but I mean, it could be more. I mean, for now, there's just one camera and there's very minor edits that I do. And even that was challenging. I'm like, how the hell do I do this now? And you have to go, there's tutorials, but it's so easy, like in a 5-6 minute tutorial, you figure out how to do like so many things. Like if you look at my history on YouTube, it's just tutorials, on audio and video. And it's impressive to me now that I have all the time, more than obviously before, to see what exists, man, online. Like for me, it's so impressive because look, I was in politics, so for me, the social media, it was just the traditional stuff, you know what I mean? And it's not like I was working for like a high-profile politician either. It was just basic things, So it was just managing that kind of aspect. But when you see what's out there, and especially if you're into this creative field, so many opportunities. It's insane.
Absolutely, and the creative in every term. I didn't know what a creative was. I thought, okay, a creative is an artist. I didn't know a DJ was considered a creative and an artist, right? But as soon as I saw the two together, I was like, absolutely, he is an artist. He is a creative, a singer, a photographer. I thought a photographer is simply a photographer. No, he's a creative. And the work that's all involved behind it. To your point, I had the time to really stop and think clearly and see what's happening and learn a whole different, just change my mindset. But I think it's important for people to be able to take a step back and take that time to think. And it's not easy for everybody. Just like you, when you were working, it wasn't easy to take that step back. When I was in a restaurant, there's no way, right?
Dude, I noticed that you disappeared. I'm like, where is this guy, man?
So now, if say I would have to give advice to somebody, the last thing I would do is tell them, stop doing what you're doing, and don't pay your bills so you can figure things out. But I think it's important for people to try and find a way to try different things, taste different things, and really open your horizons, especially in today's world.
Oh man, it's crazy.
No matter what you do, even if you're doing basket weaving for a company, you can end up doing a podcast or a YouTube channel.
But that's the thing.
I bet you there is a whole bunch of channels on basket weaving.
Guaranteed. You're going to find your niche. You're going to find your market no matter what you do. And that's what I've realized. It's incredible. Like even through podcasting, I had no idea. Like I knew that my friend was doing it. And then when I started looking into it, everybody is on the fucking platform. Everybody. Promoting their business or promoting whatever they're doing or promoting the brand. And then, like you said, like through that, there's all these ads now that are coming in and all these partnerships. And it's just incredible.
So it's crazy. You just said everybody's doing these podcasts to promote their business. What are you doing?
Look, for me, honestly, I don't know. Like this is new to me. I just started this this year.
And wherever it goes.
Look,
one thing will lead to another.
I really don't know. For me, in my mind, it was like, okay, I got to do it. Just do it, and you figure it out later. Honestly, that's the whole process in my mind. That's how it happened. I knew that podcasting was interesting back in the day when I had first met up with my friend Pantelis, and I kept following it. I'm like, this would be so interesting, and the whole political arena is absent. You know what I mean? People don't understand how things work, and not only in politics, but the people that are involved around that whole environment. It's just not politicians and staffers. Community leaders. We're talking about businessmen and all these other people that are contributing to that one cause, and nobody knows this. You know what I mean? And for the longest time, it was just in the back of my mind. And as soon as this year came in, I'm like, you know what? Let me just do it. And I remember my wife telling me, but what are you going to, like, how is it going to work? I'm like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Let me just start and we'll see. You know what I mean? And, all this thing went up in no time, and the equipment. I just wanted to put the content out there, and then I would figure it out later.
Do you consider yourself a creative?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Why not?
Because I'm not. I don't know why not. I mean, for me, it's just okay. Let me talk to interesting people, get their story, share it. Like you had nothing to do with politics, but it doesn't matter. You're in the backstage of your industry, and that's what I want to expose, right? I mean, I don't think I'm a creator. I don't think I'm creating anything. I'm just putting out the content out there.
This is creating. I'm not saying you are a creative or not. I'm just asking. To me too. I was like, I still didn't consider myself a creative until I heard it from 100 different people telling me. And it's like, okay, maybe
you're
this is what it is.
You're 100%.
So this is what I mean. Now on your end, this is still.
For me, honestly, and you asked me before going live, like, where's this going? And I really don't know. And a lot of people are asking me. I had a meeting this morning actually, and he goes to me, what's this podcast? Like, what are you doing? And like, is this what you want to do? And my answer was, I don't know. I'm just enjoying it so much that I'm just going along with it. And I have like this project coming out like for the federal campaign where it's going to get a little bit more active, and we'll see where that goes. And that's just it for now, And I don't have to worry about financial stuff because we're running a business with my wife on the and that's our main income. So I don't have that stress to make it work. But at the same time, I would love for this to be more constant rather than just 2 episodes a month, for example, right? But I'm not in any rush particularly. I really don't. I really don't stress. This is honestly something really fun. There's this guy actually that I want to bring on the podcast, and we've been going back and forth for like 2 months. He goes, George, man, I'm so sorry. I'm just so busy. I'm like, dude, there's literally no stress. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? And so that, for me, this is just a fun way to just break off from whatever I'm doing or whatever I had done before, and just meet the interesting people and just put this content out there for the public to absorb. That's what
I think it's super cool. And when you contacted me, I was like, 100%. Like, fuck, I haven't seen you in so long. I would love to come. Okay, fine. We'll just be in front of a camera saying our stupidities, right? But
nothing out of the ordinary. Right?
Nothing. And we haven't said anything stupid, so. But I think it was super cool, and I think you should keep going. And absolutely, one thing will fall.
Tell me about the branding. What you're doing now, because you mentioned before that you are branding as Kosta, or because you have this company, it's called Accents.
Accents. So I haven't been promoting the company per se, and I will start promoting it soon as the store opens. Even though everything's done on paper, and I still give out my business card as Accents. However, I'm promoting myself.
Yeah,
and I think I am my best brand.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kosta is my business card. My handshake is my business card. And I think that's the root of all businesses, and that's just keeping it old school for several reasons. I don't want to be based only on social media. I want to promote me as a person, me as an artist now, as a creative now. That's basically how I'm treating it. So Accents actually has a definition to it. It's an emphasis given to a style worn by an individual for a distinctive look and self-expression.
Straight out of the dictionary.
No, wrong. It's not. I wrote that one. Okay. I swear. And this is why I said, okay, that's Accents.
Yeah.
It's literally, and when I wrote the definition, I even wrote noun. And the Accents, it's written with 2 X's, right? But no, I think my branding is more myself right now, and as an individual, and then start moving it.
Tell me something. Are you projecting, like, in the future to be more like, is it like to bring more people on board, kind of thing, like for you not to be like the only person, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I met so many different artists who have talent, who are super good, and they would love to be customizing sneakers day in and day out, but they just not they can't market themselves, or they're not getting the exposure. They're just maybe the area they're in, or they're just not getting the clientele that necessarily they would like to be getting. And speaking with them, it's like, I would love to open a place and have the different artists and different styles. Mm-hmm. You could just keep changing looks, right? You can have somebody in residency for a little while, and etc.
As long as the space is there, like a creative space where people can come and just do what they have to do.
And then let me do what I do best: bring people to you guys to keep you guys busy. You know, I'm good at that. I've always done that.
That would be awesome, because I don't think anything like that exists, where there's like a creative space where.
There is, but depends on what you want to do, right? If we look at tattoo parlors, that's exactly
But that's what
right?
I was thinking. I mean, like, you're creating a tattoo parlor for shoes kind of thing. Yeah. The guy walks in, he can either leave his shoes there to be taken care of, cleaned or repaired or whatever. And then what, you're going to have like a little binder with different designs that people can add to their shoes? Or
Absolutely, but now we have Google, right?
Yeah.
So no matter what it is you want, done.
That's it.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. I have, I'm on track. And I think it's nice, you know, and with the store, I have a lot of different ideas to not just be on sneakers, to actually help other artists get their work
promote their stuff.
To promote their stuff. I want to become like a hub for urban artists.
You know what's funny? When we said this earlier on, Montreal has that uniqueness that would allow you to do that, I think, as a city.
Yeah. Just look at all the events they do, right? And next month we have Under Pressure.
See, I don't know these things.
Okay. Yeah. The month before we had the Mural Fest.
There's so many things. Actually, I was having this conversation with someone else not too long ago about how Montreal is just a festival city, and we don't know it because we take it for granted.
We live here, and
I don't know. I have no clue about these things happening, and yet there are so many things going on.
And you're a downtown boy.
No, I'm not downtown boy.
Okay, I'll take that back.
I love downtown. We used to live downtown, so for me, we're in the suburbs now. I think on every single single podcast, I kind of, I'm not disappointed that we live here, but because I love it, I love where we are. But I just miss the Montreal vibe.
I threw it in there just to ignite it.
But it's okay. It's fine. My wife knows it too. She's to blame. No, we're very happy. But I do miss downtown, honestly, because there's a lot of things happening, and we live like really at the heart of downtown, like in the middle of the chaos. We were in the middle of everything going on.
I said it to somebody. I find Montreal is a small New York.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think Toronto is a small New York. Montreal has a much more European vibe, but culturally it's so rich. It's international. Yeah. I haven't traveled much, but I've been to some big cities, and like obviously New York is on a league of its own. Forget about New York. Montreal is very similar to San Francisco. I don't know if you've been to San Francisco.
No, never.
You should go to San Francisco. It's a beautiful city. But the one thing that I've noticed in all these cities that they don't have compared to Montreal is the vibrant lifestyle. I remember even in Toronto, I was with my wife there.
Well, that's why when you said Toronto is more like New York.
In terms of the look.
Okay.
Like
so we're not talking about look. We're talking about culture and vibes and things to do.
Things are moving in Montreal. And that's one thing that distinguishes it, I think, from every other city. We were in Toronto, actually, a couple of years ago with my wife, before even the kids were born and everything. And it was 1:30 in the morning, and it was dead, and it was on a Saturday. And
on top of it.
Yeah. And I was like, what is going on here?
Go out in Montreal on a Monday night.
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There is always something going on. There's always activity, like especially downtown. Obviously, if you go to the suburbs, it's dead. Of course, but we're talking about the core of the city. There's always movement. There's always lights. There's always something going on. And I haven't seen that in many cities. Of course, excluding New York. Forget about that.
Yeah. But what I think is really cool is that people are real in terms of, you know what? We live in this area. It's not far from downtown. Like, George, let's go grab a coffee on St. Denis Street.
I just think it's also a mentality thing. I think people are conditioned to think that way. That's what Montreal does to you.
Really? Okay, let me set the scenario for you. You're in Toronto. It's super expensive in Toronto. Yeah. You have a job. It's decently paying. So you're dressed in your suit and tie. And you have to go out. After work, everybody goes out. So you're all corporate with your coworkers.
Yeah.
And you going back to that, we have to be a certain image, we have to be fake. But I live an hour away and I have to take the train back.
But that's the thing.
So by 7 o'clock, I'm out, and I find you go to Toronto and everybody's, and I'm not saying it in a bad way, maybe it's what I saw, right? But you go to Toronto and you see everybody's being fake because, I'm just out with my coworkers, and by 7, 8 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock, I gotta jump on a train because it's the last one bringing me.
That's what I'm saying.
Home.
Montreal has that vibe, I think. And growing up in Montreal, you're conditioned to think like, okay, what are we doing today? Where are we going? Regardless of what day it is in the week. Whereas in other cities like Toronto, I mean, it's so like business oriented, where Monday to Thursday, let's say, it's dead.
Yeah.
And maybe you would expect it. Or maybe we don't know the places where things are
correct. Yeah, maybe it's just us, but yeah.
But I was there on a Saturday and it was dead, and I was on Yonge Street, and
it's the heart, right?
I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then I think someone told me that clubs close at 2, or maybe even earlier, I'm not even sure. And I was like, that doesn't make sense.
But we're not going clubbing either, right?
No, but you just want to go out. Like, there's no like a bar or a pub or whatever, anything. And that's what I think is distinctive about Montreal. It's amazing. It's a great city. That's why I think that's something that you're building has a huge potential over here.
Thanks, man.
Because it has that culture vibe, like a New York, like a San Francisco, like that kind of city. And it's amazing. I'm glad that you're pursuing this, and I was definitely one shocked to see what you're doing. That's why I asked you. I'm like, how do you transition from what you were before? Because I knew you as the car guy, just working on the car all the time and racing, and then I'm like, he's designing shoes. I'm like, okay, and I was happy. It's just a shock that I'm like, he can draw. I didn't know that. But it's great, and I want to thank you, man, for coming. I'm not going to keep you much longer. I know that you're busy and you have all that work. I appreciate it, dude. And
thank you very much, man. Thank you.
We're gonna stay in touch for sure, and I wanna do something else. Obviously, when you open your shop, and there's
that'd be cool, man.
I don't know why, but when I saw what you were doing, for some reason, all these ideas came to my mind for you. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome. And I just wish sometimes that I can think like that for me. But I don't consider myself a creative. But there's just so many things that I thought about you, and I want to give you some ideas.
There you go, George. You can become a consultant for people.
Yeah. And then slowly, I'll start drawing shoes. You know what I mean? Thanks a lot, bro.
Thank you very much, man.
I appreciate it.